we're training thousands and thousands of dogs every year with basically the same types of behavior problems. So this month we have puppy training, basic obedience, aggression, leash reactivity, fear-based territorial aggression, generalized anxiety disorder, separation distress syndrome, interfamily dog aggression, chronic housebreaking, OCD behaviors, and that's about it for the month. And we're only 10 days into the month. We work with shelter dogs, feral dogs. We work with dogs rescued from Korean meat markets. I don't know if you've heard about that disgusting thing that they do down there. Those dogs are basically, when you work with them, it's like working with a feral dog. It's like working with a wild animal, just a shy, shut down wild animal. Very challenging, but very rewarding. As you know, like you've fostered dogs yourselves, and the dogs that are more in need of help are the ones that you get the biggest sense of satisfaction. But it's a project. It's a project living with an aggressive dog. It's a project working with a dog who won't look at you at all. And you're living in the house with the dog for a month, and the dog's terrified of everybody, and all she wants to do is lay in the crate. So those are the types of cases that we deal with routinely, and it's important for you guys to know that because our missions are aligned. Like our job is to keep adopted dogs safely in their homes and prevent them from being returned to the animal shelter, right? And then your job, of course, is to get them into good homes and help the homeless dogs to find good, loving, permanent homes. So that's why I'm here today, because our missions are the same. So hopefully you get something good that you can use. And with that, we're going to roll a quick video. Watch carefully. Lights. That is a recently adopted greyhound. That's the owner. Okay, we'll talk about body language. Okay, all right, so we'll start out with some wrong ways to greet a dog. These pictures are just actual pictures of people saying hi to dogs that they don't know. You see the tail down and the piloerection from the base of the tail to the skull, so that's not a good way to greet a dog. That's probably not a great way to greet a dog because she's leaning over him and she's frontally aligned and she's holding on to his paws. Those are three things that dogs hate. Dogs don't like you to touch their paws when they don't know you. Dogs don't like you to be frontally aligned and looking down at them when they don't know you. Also, what's another reason why, if you're a volunteer at a shelter and a dog does that and you reward that behavior, why shouldn't you do that? Why is that a bad idea to do that? From a behavior point of view, why is that a bad idea? Say again? Yeah, you're rewarding the dog for jumping up, which is a reason why people return dogs to the shelter. He jumps up. So we don't want to reinforce that behavior. Here's the from behind little kid whacking the dog on the head. That's not a good idea either. And, sorry, there we go. Here's the hug around the neck. You can see great pupil dilation there. Right? The dog is like, help me. So there is a formula. If you want to get the dog to bite you, it's very simple. Make direct eye contact, bend over toward him, and stick your hand in his face. Boom. That's what happens. Why do we do that? Because that's the way we greet people. We make direct eye contact, we reach out, and we're frontally aligned when we meet somebody. But dogs don't meet each other like that. Dogs meet each other like this. These are our favorite stress and arousal signals. Yawning, whale eye. Everybody knows what yawning is, everybody knows what whale eye. All right, yawning, like it's not always a stress signal, but if a dog does it, it's the timing of it that can tell you it's a stress signal, right? There are times that the dog really, if he yawns when the circumstances don't really call for that, then that could be a stress signal. Same thing with whale eye. Whale eye is when the white of the eye, it's also called cow eye in some books that you read. Whale eye is when the white of the eye is not properly aligned. So I'm a shy dog and I'm staring over at Amanda and I have to keep my eye on her, but over here from the side, here comes somebody else. So while I look over this way, I have to keep my eyes on her. So it's an unnatural movement of the head that produces noticeable whitening of the eye. Dilated pupils we saw in that greyhound getting hugged around the neck just a minute ago, right? Penis crowning is a stress signal also. Urinating could be a stress signal. It all depends. Also, pacing, freezing. Everybody noticed the freeze up with the greyhound when the owner was approaching him. That's why we did it twice, and I think I heard everybody go, oh, yeah, there it is. And anything with when I'm looking at a dog, really, the last thing that I really look at is that the tail can fake you out. Think of a tail as just an energy meter. A tail just means we're excited. It doesn't mean it's a good excitement, right? So if you watch some good working canine patrol dogs getting ready to go for the bite sleeve, their tails are wagging like crazy, right? So the tail can fake you out. I'd rather look at the excessive salivation, lip licking, teeth chattering, general freeze-ups. Things like that you can really spot, and then you can factor in the tail, but the tail is not really a reliable factor. We hear all the time, they'll say, I don't know what was wrong. He was wagging his tail, and then he bit me. So piloerection, reactive tail carriage, that's other than the normal tail carriage, would be a reactive tail carriage. And here are our favorite calming and distance decreasing signals. These are signals given by a dog when he wants you to come closer. That's a distance decreasing. He wants you to come closer. A look away, a paw raise. We're going to see these in video clips in a minute. We're going to see a whole bunch of these rapid fire. Scratching, play bow. Everybody knows what a play bow is, right? Chest down, butt in the air. Relaxed posture. A dog who initiates gentle physical contact. I really like this one. A dog who wants to come meet you, like he almost wants to be inside of you. We work with a lot of pits, and you can see like the pits that are friendly, they want to be all over you. They love human contact. So a dog and now remember, initiating gentle physical contact is not the same as jumping up and banging you in the chest with your head, right, with his head. There's a thin line between arousal and aggression. So always remember that. That's why all of the previous signals represent dogs who are overly aroused. It's very unusual to have a dog just who's resting come after you. And that greyhound was not resting, by the way. I'm going to show you in a minute exactly what the greyhound was doing. And then soft eyes and bunny ears, right? Soft, squinty eyes and ears that are back, not pinned back, but back in a relaxed way. So when you go home, look at your own dogs and just look for these things when your own dog who loves you greets you, and you'll see. Soft eyes, bunny ears. The most commonly misinterpreted signals are yawning, because people don't notice it. It looks like yawning, right? Paw raise versus a paw swat. There's a difference. A paw raise is a sign of submission. Looks like that. A paw swat is an attention-seeking gesture. It looks like that, right? So paw raise versus paw swat. And rollovers. So there's two different types of rollovers. One means pet my belly, one means get away from me. I can't read that, but I think it says rollover is a distance increasing signal if in response to a negative stimulus with stiff body posture and stages. So what that means is that's a go away rollover. Distance increasing signal. What that looks like is he's gonna lie down in stages, usually head, neck, shoulders, freeze. And then he's just laying there frozen. A greyhound will lay with his legs extended because that's the way they're built. Other breeds, like a pit, will probably roll over on his back, right? The difference is when he rolls over on his back, he's not moving around. A good rollover looks happy and goofy and clumsy and wiggly. That's like what your own dog does when they want you to come pet my belly. They get so excited that they lay around and they look like they're just delighted to be with you. That's a totally different thing from versus what that greyhound did. That greyhound was doing a go-away rollover. It was all distancing. The closer the owner got, the less the dog moved. When he finally went at him, he was totally frozen, and the owner insisted on, hey, buddy, how you doing? Hey, buddy, and the dog's going like, get away from me, please, don't touch me, get away from me. And the guy's like just continually doing that, and so he got a threat display. Luckily, he didn't get bit. This dog hasn't learned how to bite yet. He just got a threat display. Dogs don't bite, like their nature is not, dogs have to learn how to bite. That's why when you're dealing with a dog who's a mature adult dog, you have more risk than dealing with a 5-month-old puppy. Because if the dog is a biter, he's already learned how to bite. Hopefully, by the time you see any of these on the list, you're already kind of, backing off and giving the dog more distance. A high tail flag is when the tail comes up and just the tip of it flags. High tail flag. It's high and fast. So if one dog is approaching another dog, a wiggly, wide wag is like, I'm happy to see that dog. A tail flag is, bring him over here, I want to eat him. So the best pre-bite warning, in my opinion, is this. Now, it's fun because that's the person's own dog and they do that as a game, but the body language is perfect. That's exactly what the body language really looks like. Okay, now we're going to see some body language while these two dogs stand off over a toy. The body language that they use with each other is exactly the same body language that they use with us, right? Only a dog that's properly socialized with other dogs will learn how to read the other dog's body language and will be able to interpret social signals, whereas a dog who has limited experience will not. So let's look at these two guys, and they're in there somewhere. Ah, there they are. So there's a toy, that pink thing there, that's a toy. This guy owns that toy. This guy's reading his body language. Look how stiff he is. Look how stiff that dog is. So now the other dog is trying to do a calming signal. Hey buddy, no problem. I'll come back here. Trying to sniff you. See, so brown and white dog knows not to go for that toy. He knows how to read body language, and he just tiptoes away, like, okay, how about if I come around the other side? Okay, here's an example of hard eye, which is the opposite of soft eyes, and a lip lift. Hard eye, lip lift. There we go. Okay, see the dog on the right? Okay, dog on the left reads that beautifully and goes blink, blink, blink. See? That's a calming signal and a look away. So you're going to see a whole list of behaviors all within the 10 seconds there. Okay, so you had the look away, the blinking. Okay, here's a friendly greeting to a human. C shape, the letter C, right? So you had the letter, a C shape, a gentle shoulder rub, not a marking shoulder rub. If you forget everything else, remember, loose and wiggly is good. Stiff and frozen is bad. Never touch a frozen dog. Here are the stages of development. I'm going to just go through them as a list, and then I'm going to talk about each one individually. I mean, the records we keep are showing us between 8 and 14 months is when we get, like, what, 90% of our aggression calls? Between 8 and 14 months. The canine socialization period runs 21 to 49 days. That's when he learns from his litter how to read social signals that we just talked about, right? He learns all about biting, chasing, barking, fighting, posturing. He learns about submission. So those dogs that were interacting over the toy, that one dog knew right away, said, uh-oh, I'm not going near that toy, right? Because that dog obviously went through his complete canine socialization period and learned all that stuff from the litter. So they learn den cleanliness, they learn bite inhibition, and it's really important because a lot of the dogs that we see in shelters and rescues are pulled out of the litter when they're 5 or 6 weeks old. You know, somebody's dog gets with somebody else's dog in the backyard and they have a litter and they sell the puppies for $50 a piece and they want to get them out of there as quickly as possible. So as soon as the dog's eating solid food, like 6 weeks old, bang, let's separate him from the litter. It's the worst possible thing you can do. You're missing out on his whole canine socialization period. You need the whole 21 to 49 days, right? That's like, think of that as K through 8 for a human child, right? Would you pull your kid out of school in the 6th grade and say, you don't need grade 7 and 8, just go right to high school, get out of here. So 21 to 49 days means like you really should never remove a puppy from a litter before 7 weeks of age. Sometimes you get a dog that is so shy that just holding the dog on the leash, they kind of lean away from you and they don't want to do anything. It doesn't matter what kind of food you have, they're not going to do anything. Right? You ever have a dog like that that just stands there and just looks at you, and you could say sit 10 million times as friendly as you want, and they just keep backing away? So that was this dog. This dog had just arrived 2 weeks earlier. The owners were not able to get this dog to do anything. Anything. There was one part, the woman could get close enough to the dog to have a leash on it, and that's about all that they had. That, and the dog was comfortable settling in the crate. Other than that, you try to do anything, you face the dog and it would run away. It would leave. So as a trainer, it's kind of tough. You're going to go there and train the dog. As soon as you look at it, it runs. So here's what we did. We did something called capturing, where we just wait for the behavior and then mark it with the word. What do we use for a marker word? Yes. Mark it with yes. Yes is a bridge between, I just told you, between what? Between behavior and the reward. Excellent. Hit it. Now notice how sensitive this dog is to my body language. If I just move the wrong way, she trots backwards. So I'm just standing there with food in my hands. Not looking at her, not talking to her. There's sound, right? So that you can hear when I say yes? Okay. She's interested. Oh, she got a free one to try it out. That's okay. I want her to be interested in the food. But we've already tried just saying sit, and she just runs when we do that. So we're trying something different now. Yes, sit. Yes. So we mark the moment that her butt hits the ground with yes, and then we repeat. We see the behavior and say the behavior. So instead of saying sit, yes, as you would with a regular dog who's working with you, with this dog we're going to do it differently. We're going to wait for it and then capture it, yes, and then say the behavior that we just saw, which is called sit. So we're going to say yes first and then sit. That time I just moved the wrong way and she backpedaled away. There's the second sit that we got. Like just looking at her causes her to get a little spooky. So I want her to be interested in the food, and we're just waiting for it. See how she jumped? I just moved the wrong way. Yes. There's another one. So that's called capturing. When you wait for the behavior, mark it and reward it. So this is our favorite type of collar, martingale, without a plastic clip. And if it's on correctly, you should not see any loop here. If it's on correctly, when everything's relaxed and there's no leash on the dog, it should be flat, right? So if you pull a dog from the kennel and it's really loose and wobbly, that's kind of a safety thing. Not so much that they can slip out of it, but that it can get caught on something. Or if they play together, one can get their mouth caught under the other one's collar. So the martingale should be snug. And then to do the leash wrap harness helps to reduce the pulling a little bit. It's not a training technique, it's a control technique, right? So you're not going to really train the dog to walk much better. It's just a way to give you more leverage. And so you go under here and you go through here. And while I'm doing that, somebody tell me a situation where you should never use a leash wrap. So this is a leash wrap. If it's wrapped like this, the dog has to be on your left, right? Otherwise, it's not working properly. So ideally, the dog. If you're gonna have the dog on your left, you wrap it that way. If you're gonna have the dog on your right, you just wrap it the other way. I don't care which side the dog is on. But when should you never use this technique? You should never use this technique on a dog that you're not comfortable with. On a dog that you just met, right? If it's your first walk outside and he's pulling and it's a big pit bull, you're better off letting him pull than doing this. Because if he comes after you, you can't protect yourself if he's wrapped like this. This is an example of, turn the volume down, Soul. All right, I'll walk you through this. This is from our friends at a rescue called Bound Angels. We thank them for this. The handler here does a really good job at this. And we've seen this dog a million times, all of us. We've seen this particular type of dog quite often. So he starts by tossing some food in just to see if the dog will take the food. So we're not going in and using the food as a lure. We don't lure with the food. We're testing with the food to see, like, will he take 2 steps toward me? If he gets it, is he able to do that? And he's able to do that. So now he keeps going. That's, you know, the sun is coming in through the guillotine door. But so he's still frozen there. So we know we can get some movement out of him. That's good news. But we're not going to try to go in there at this point. And he's still wearing his the collars he came in with. Nobody's been able to get him out of the kennel at this point. This is the first time he was ever taken out of the kennel, what you're seeing here. And look at all that fear, right? You got a tail tuck. Now we're just, hey, this is a kennel lead. What do you think? Right? Are you afraid of it? It's okay if I do this. We're still outside the kennel, and he's not. Okay, now he goes somewhere. He tolerated it the first couple times, but you want to try that because you might see the tail come up and he starts wagging his tail like, hey, we're going for a walk? Yeah, buddy, let's go, right? But usually it doesn't happen. Usually you get that. So where he has to back up and think about it again. The handler is not talking at all, which I recommend. We had the volume turned down because it's a crummy video. The sound quality is bad. But he's not saying anything anyway. Now we make a real big loop. See how big that loop is? Let's see if we can just get it over there and, nope, he's gone again. But I want you to watch his head carefully, his mouth and his face. And you can see the ear. Remember I said before, like it's better to be able to read the dog's ears, eyes, and mouth. The dog's doing a lot of communicating with his ears, eyes, and mouth. Yeah, if his tail was docked, we couldn't see that big, fearful tail tuck either, right? So, okay. Now we're going to try to go in. Now we're going to close off the guillotine door and try, and let's do it. And just because he's eating, he really hasn't loosened up at all. He still insists on being perfectly frontally aligned. He's still, there he goes. That was a lip lift right there. I talked through it, but he gave a snarl there. He lifted his lip.
There's another one for you.
There we go. Right. So that is a distance increasing signal. So the handler wisely increases distance. Says, okay, you want me over here? I'll be over here, but I'll be back. And now we come back. It's like, come on, it's not that bad. And boom, out we go. See, now we know we're going for a walk. And then the first thing they do is they take off the other collars and stuff like that. And his tail came up a little bit too. Yeah, let's watch it again.
Big, big, big loop.
Big, big, big loop, okay? Big, big loop. And, yes, before I lose my thought, I like this one better than the British slip lead. The British slip leads are good for, like, if you're working in a clinic and you need to move dogs from one place to the other. Those real cheap little thin ones. But for training, I like this one because this has some weight to it, so that when he puts his head in there, when you finally get the head, that loop wasn't big enough. So we want a big, 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 big loop. So when you finally do get his head in there, and it drops down. So now we're okay. And don't mess with, don't play with it. Don't, like in that case, the handler did a perfect job. It landed over the prong collar and over the flat collar, and he didn't touch it. He doesn't, just get the dog out of there. If as soon as you've got him, the first thing you start doing is playing with his neck, that's not good. So just be happy that you got it on him, and you can take care of the other stuff later. So the best way to break up a dog fight is you have two people, each person grabs the back legs of one of the dogs, and then you back away and turn in a wide circle. You know, I'm not saying you swing the dog over your head like, you know, you just back away. And like that, right? And don't let go, because if you let go too soon, they go right back at each other. So one person grab this dog's leg, the other person, and by the way, the first thing you do is you stay calm. They're not going to kill each other in 20 seconds. Right? Just stay calm, and you have a job to do, right? You know, unless they're like one dog outweighs the other, then of course you can have a serious injury in 2 seconds. But we're assuming we have two dogs of equal weight playing together, and a fight breaks out. Grab the back, each person grabs the back legs of a dog, and you wheel them apart, get them out of there, and you're good.
So we talked earlier about some of the things that staff can do. I remember that like volunteers, sometimes you guys are the other half of the staff's eyes. You know, they're busy focusing on A, B, or C and might not notice, hey, this dog is constantly aggressing at the dog across from him every time someone walks across. Point that out so that the staff knows, so that they can potentially move the dog that's reacting that way, or the dog that's being stressed out by being reacted at. We talked about the potential for visual barriers, right? Again, this is something that's a staff job, but something that a volunteer could easily say, dog A is tormenting dog B every time someone walks through the kennel. Another important skill is really the ability to settle. Because the dogs are in a cage, we have the tendency to want to do, and that's great. We talked about all kinds of really good, cool things to do with the dogs. Want to make sure that when you see a dog who every single time it sees a person, it's treats and food and agility and walks and play groups and go, do, that you notice, when I approach the cage, the dog goes up to 100. Every time I talk to him, he flies off the handle, bouncing, barking crazy. That's hypersocial arousal. Hypersocial arousal is something that, A, there's a fine line between arousal and aggression. We talked about that before. A dog who's bouncing crazy like that is more likely to do something foolish, like put his teeth on your skin. It's also really off-putting for an adopter if you can't go, hi, buddy, without the dog rebounding off your chest and knocking all these little children over.
We used to have people go into the kennel and read. Like take one of these, a folding chair, with a friendly dog, obviously. You know, sit down and read. You know, first to yourself, then out loud. Like, what's going on here? Like the dog is like, are we going for a walk? Are we going out? Are we doing? And your objective in this exercise is just to have him lie down. Once he lies down, like, hey, let's go for a walk. And then we're rewarding that behavior, and just having him learn how to have a person present with him without acting like a knucklehead is a very good skill to give dogs that are expected to meet the public, and you want people to actually like them. You want the dog to be a little bit polite, right? Like, and by helping them to learn to settle, it's not a downstay, it's not an obedience command, it's just an attitude of like, we're just gonna like chill here for a while, and when you settle down, then maybe we'll go do something else. That's a good point. What else?
Crate trading. So I know some of these guys are lucky enough to get to do overnights with you guys. I don't know that there's a ton of practicality in the actual setup we have in the shelter right now. I don't think any of the kennels are big enough to put a crate into, and space is limited in other aspects. But one of the ways that we're going to help a dog settle into a new home and prevent separation anxiety, prevent fighting with the other dog, prevent running out the door when the first visitor comes over, like all kinds of little behavior problems, destroying the couch, peeing on the floor, can really be curtailed, and one of our biggest tools in fixing that is going to be a crate. So just knowing that the dog can settle in a crate improves his adaptability, and it's a skill that we can teach them in a fairly short period of time. It's not that hard. Just spend a little bit of time in your kennel crate, dude. It'll help his transition to his new home go much easier. Because if he goes home and lays down in his kennel crate instead of freaking out and losing his mind, the new adopter is more likely to actually stick with
Yeah,
using the
helps
crate.
prevent returns. It fixes like half the things that people complain about. Housebreaking, chewing something up.
Chewing something.
Just have them settle in the crate.
Chasing the cat.
We've taken so many either client dogs or foster dogs or whatever and put them into the crate for the first time, and none of them like it the first time. You know, you read this thing, it's like, crating is totally natural because it's the dog's natural denning instinct. Yeah, eventually, but the first time you put a 5-year-old dog into a crate who's never been in there before, he's going to try to get out. So crate training, which can be done at any age, has to be done gradually and humanely, and you can experiment with different types of crates. And that mainly applies, as Amanda said, we don't, like some shelters actually have larger kennels that they put a crate in there and they get the dog crate trained before he goes out. I don't think we have the ability to do that right now, but if you're fostering a dog and you take them home, it's a good idea to do it.